Hi everyone, BritSimon here. I want to talk to you about a question that I was asked that many of you might be asking, or many of you might be wondering. What's the explanation for some embassies that are not performing well, that are building up a backlog of cases? I received this question. Let me show you the question. I received this question from a gentleman called Furkan, I believe, who's at Turkey and is worried about his chances. He raises some points. I have to say, I found his tone a little bit challenging, shall we say. Do I think that the USA imposes an embargo on Turkish citizens? Do you think the US government has prejudice against Turkish citizens? Um, uh, no, let's not be silly. This is the diversity visa, and people working in this program for the government are simply trying to do their jobs to hand out visas, and they're doing the best they can in the circumstances. But sometimes some of the embassies seem to prefer other types of visas, perhaps above DV, and they're not giving what we consider to be the appropriate level of effort to DV. But I can explain that and hopefully explain it in a way that will make sense to you. So we can come to the monthly immigrant information, the reports that are issued by the government on how many visas they issue each month. And if we look at Ankara, because Furkan was interested in Ankara, we can see that they issued 26 visas in the month of November for DV, right? But if we scroll down a little bit and we look at the other visa categories, we can see they didn't do very much in any of the other categories apart from the IR categories, IR 1 through 5. What's IR? IR is immediate relative category. So this is the spouse, or a newly acquired spouse, of course, or children, either adopted or natural born children of an American citizen, or the parents of an American citizen. All of those are immediate relatives of American citizens, right? The immediate relative category is not numerically limited in any way. Therefore, it doesn't appear in the visa bulletin, and visas are supposed to be immediately available for those categories, immediate relatives. And so the government in the past has explained that that is their priority, and the number one priority of the missions abroad, the consulates and embassies abroad. It makes sense if you think about it, that if I, as an American citizen, am traveling abroad, I expect my embassy, American embassy, or the British embassy, either one of those, because I'm dual citizen, I expect those embassies to take care of me in the countries where I am, right? I expect help and assistance. And if I wanted to adopt a baby, for example, or bring a parent to this country, I would expect them to immediately help me and not put me in some sort of waiting list. And so there is a preference given to American citizens in that regard, and that's kind of appropriate, right? Now, what happened was that during the COVID years, there was a big backlog that built up of immediate relative cases. And there was a sort of pent up demand where people wanted to bring parents, etc., but they couldn't. And so then there's been a flood of applications, and that has overwhelmed the system, particularly in some countries that have got a lot of its citizens already in America. So, for example, there's a lot of Turkish people living in America. So, and a lot of those Turks have become citizens, and they naturally want to bring their parents or children or spouses, right? And so they are, they are being looked after in their embassies back home, right? Those derivatives of the American citizen are being looked after and served as a high priority back home in Turkey. That's what's happening, right? And so we can see that in this case, there's pretty much a 10-to-1 ratio of IR category visas being issued to DV visas being issued. If we looked at the September report for the same thing, September of 2018, we would see that that isn't the same way at all. You would see the total number of DV categories split between the three categories, 1, 2, and 3, as being, what's that, about nearly 200, compared to the IR categories being something like 65, right? So a 3-to-1 ratio the other way round, right? Why? Because there weren't a lot of IR people waiting in line, a lot of IR category visas, and therefore DV visas were given a very high priority. DV are time limited, IR are not, but IR category is for American citizens and therefore is considered to be the highest priority for any consulate. Some consulates have a backlog, some don't, right? If we look at some of the other embassies, we can see a similar pattern. Furkan suggested that this was some prejudice against Turkish citizens. That's bullshit, frankly. Nothing of the sort. It's not about American prejudice against Turkey or Turks. It's simply that there are a lot of Turkish people living in America who are American citizens that want to bring their relatives, and that's why Turkey has got a lot of people in their backlog for immediate relative category. If we look at some of the other bad performing embassies, we see the same pattern. So if we look at Addis, for example, Addis for DV in the month of November issued 14 visas for DV, right? For IR, though, they managed to issue, what's that, 250, 350. So 20-to-1 ratio, IR to DV, 20 IR visas for every one DV, right? Clearly a preference for the IR category, and that's why there's delays for DV. Okay, so this is not about prejudice against people, and frankly, please don't talk in that way about Americans that are just trying to do their job, and try and understand that that's kind of a stupid thing to say when we're talking about the diversity visa program, right? There aren't many countries doing a diversity visa program, right? Giving green cards away. Certainly not countries like America, that is a very attractive place to live in. So it's pretty daft to suggest that there's something nefarious going on there. But you can see the same in all of the bad performing embassies. They're doing a lot of work on IR, and they're limiting the amount of work they do in DV. Same thing in Accra, right? Accra in November did 35 visas for DV, and they did an extraordinary number for IR, 200, 450, 650, right? So 650 visas were granted in November 23 in Accra for immediate relatives, and only 35 for DV. Okay, it's not that they don't have the capacity as a whole, it's that they're giving that capacity as a preference, as a priority to what they should be doing as a priority, which is supporting American citizens in an unlimited visa category, immediate relatives. It's an unlimited category, and the visas are supposed to be immediately available. If I were adopting a baby tomorrow as an American citizen, and I went off to some other foreign country, I adopted a baby, and the baby is 3 months old, I don't want to be told there's a 2-year waiting list for me to bring that baby to America because of some backlog. I want my bloody visa, right? And as an American citizen, I expect to be prioritized over other visa categories. That's just the way it is, right? Same thing is if I were bringing a parent, I would expect the same treatment. Okay, so that's the reason. You can choose to understand that. You can choose to not understand that. That's up to you. But I don't think you should be calling that prejudice in any way. That's not what it is. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to post this video for Furkan as an answer to his question on my blog. If you have interesting questions of this sort of nature, of any questions, ask your questions on my blog at BritSimonSays.com. And you never know, I might create a video response just for you. And I did it in this case, of course, because there must be lots of people wondering why the performance is bad at some embassies, and I wanted to make sure this point has been made. I have explained this before, but perhaps I haven't explained it clearly enough with a specific video, and that's why I wanted to create this particular video. All right, everybody, I hope that was interesting and informative to you. Please give me a thumbs up on this video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next video in a few days' time. All right, bye-bye now.